And then learn all about the professional opportunities of interest to you. And I emphasize you. Because it's not about what your mom or dad or your aunt and uncle or your grandmother and grandfather or someone important to you might want for you. It's about what really ignites you here. What really excites you? What do you like to do? Well, I knew I liked to write, but I also knew I liked science, and I was able to marry the two. I later came to find out that I'd never thought when I was in high school that I would ever consider putting my hands in another person's mouth, let alone a scalpel blade and exposing the sinus. But there's nothing, anyone who knows me, there's nothing more exciting to me, more invigorating than surgery and seeing that Schneiderian membrane of the sinus peeking through at you and you being able to really make a difference through what you're doing in delivering patient care. It's something that ignites me for sure. And again, those are the things that you just need to always be eyes wide open about. Make sure that you ask people around you. Professionals are always very eager to share what they're doing, what it means to them, what they had to do to get there. They're always happy to share those kinds of experiences. So make sure you probe people. Ask about it. So what about my own journey? You already heard. In fact, I thought, well, maybe I should just leave because she actually went down very nicely, Holly, through my whole bio, and I should have sent you maybe a brief one. But my own journey, I think, is important not because I want to stand here and tell you all about myself, but because I hope what it'll do is tweak sort of something in you that says, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Maybe I should give that a try, or wow, I had no idea. First thing that you need to know about me is, as I shared with you, I was a good student, but not a great student. And only because I didn't understand where my academic feet were, and I was holding myself back because I thought I couldn't do it. I wasn't doing it as well as other people. What I didn't know was that it wasn't that I couldn't do it, I didn't have the process of getting it down to know how to go about learning. All right, so figure that out now, believe me. I finally did. And then the sky was the limit. So I was born and raised in Midland, Michigan. Was my community unique? Maybe a little bit, but not that much. It's the world headquarters for Dow Chemical Corporation and the corporate headquarters for Dow Corning. So a very strong science community, but not anything outside of probably what a number of people come from. But yes, there was certainly a science focus. Middle school, but I went through elementary school and early middle school, much like everybody else. But in 8th grade or 9th grade, I had a science teacher who picked me out to do a bulletin board, believe it or not, and I thought I was on my way to the Nobel laureate kingdom. So it was that first teacher that made me feel unique and special. So if I have teachers here, you have no idea that every single day that you get up and you go in and you touch young students' lives, you have an opportunity to absolutely make a difference that goes on forever and ever. I can go back, we can all go back and think about those favorite teachers that we've had, those people that have really touched our lives. That was important. And I joined the science club. Did that make me different and everybody kind of poke and make fun? No, really, it was kind of a neat place to be, and I loved out of doors. And that was really what our science club was all about. So I actually pulled this picture up. That's my middle school, by the way. And then I pulled the picture up because that was the trip that was one of those turning points for me. Again, just really tuned in and thinking, wow, we heard about what the Parks Conservatory person was doing, my own science teachers and what they were involved in, and I knew that that really excited me. And then there was high school. Lots of social interests, but coupled with that, I continued to have a strong interest in science. So I took courses up through advanced biology. I was really a biology-heavy focused person. That was always what really kind of intrigued me and excited me because I could see the application. in everything that was going on in biology. And I decided to become the student lab assistant. So again, there's a recurring theme here, but not because I knew it. Just doing things to set yourself apart, but they're things that you love. So when those opportunities come in front of you, instead of shying away from them because you're afraid of what other people might think, or you're afraid of the fact that you have to make a commitment to something, think about it. Try to find those opportunities, because those are important to people that are looking at you as you go along in your journey. And finally, as a high school senior, we had a program in our community that was work-based learning program that a lot of my peers really aspired to. By the time we were juniors in high school, we could interview. There was like a recruiting day on campus. And we had multiple companies, both Dow Chemical, Dow Corning, and other companies from around the area that would come in and interview people much like they do on college campuses. And we were applying for jobs for the following year. And I was fortunate enough to get a job in the microbiology lab at Dow Corning Corporation at their corporate site. Again, even going through that, never really understood the total impact that opportunity had. But I always share my story of working in the lab. I had the opportunity to learn how to make, for those people in college here, you'll be able to identify with this, but I spent months probably learning how to properly prepare agar and nutrient media. And I thought, is this what this is going to be all year? And then they broke the great news to me that I was going to have my own project, or that I was going to be working on a project in the lab. And it was the famous gold-toe sock project. Has anyone ever heard of gold-toe socks? Yes? Do you know what they're famous for? Huh? They're, actually, I don't know. Maybe they do now. But one of one of the main features of the gold-toe socks is that they have an antimicrobial action. So what does that mean? Bugs don't grow on them, so do you think they're less or more stinky? Less stinky, exactly. So what was my job in the lab was to take socks that had been worn. It was my first experience with a clinical trial, which later came to light. Taking socks that had been worn, cutting very precise circles out of them, and then culturing to see how many bacterial colonies happened. So that was my claim to fame. I'm very proud of that. And as I say to everyone, that was my first big stone in my career path. And it sounds funny, but it's absolutely true. So from there, I went to Michigan Tech. Anyone know where Michigan Tech is? Well, very good. That's awesome. Yes, it is in Michigan. But it's in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where they experienced, my second year of undergraduate, 398 inches of snow. When you talk about college choices, and you think about going 9 hours from home, and you think about going to a place where it's primarily an engineering school and you're a non-engineering major, and you think about 398 inches of snow, that might not have been the best choice. So, but it is a wonderful school. I did co-op each summer, so I continued those work experiences, although it wasn't in the lab my second year. So my second year, I had the privilege of working on the road maintenance crew at Dow Chemical Company. So I patched holes in the road. And you know what? It was, again, another valuable experience. It kept me focused on where I really wanted to be, but it made me appreciate the people who make our transport through life much easier. So again, sometimes those experiences are very, very valuable for more than one reason. And then I co-opted, when my family decided to take a move to Texas, it's probably no surprise that 398 inches of snow later, I decided that perhaps I would join them in Texas. So my journey takes me to Texas, where I worked again at Dow Chemical, first in antifreeze research, and then in urethanes TS&D. Anyone familiar with what TS&D means? Technical services and development. Do you think that's kind of bench research or the lab kind of research, or do you think it's more business-related research? It's kind of the business end. So we were working with companies like Ford Motor Company, General Motors Company, formulating foams, urethane foams for them. So I was the troubleshooting person in the lab, but it gave me a totally different perspective than what you get in a strict research and development lab. So when you guys think of science, I just want to see how many hands. How many people, when you think of a science, a career in science, and you may not be going into like biology or chemistry, but if you think of science, how many of you think of research at the lab bench with the test tubes and the burners and the actually much more sophisticated equipment now? So, all right, so a fair number of you. But I think the other thing that I want to be able to communicate out to you is the careers that exist within science are not just the science. So you can work in the financial group. You can partner a law degree with a science background. You can work in the business end of the sciences. You can work in the marketing end of sciences, but you have to have the more understanding and the greater understanding you have of the sciences, the better your opportunities. And then on to Lamar University, where I finished up and got a BS in chemistry and continued doing undergraduate research. So you see, I continued my time in the lab. That was my safe place, my place of home. I loved being there. So I came out with a BS in chemistry. How many people think that I knew exactly where I was going to go right after that? No? How many people think I may have contemplated going straight out into industry? Yes, thank you. Yes, I did. But there were no jobs, all right? And so I said, and my father said, well, gee, you seem to have gotten this chemistry thing down. So why don't you think about a PhD in chemistry? Well, after having completed physical chemistry and making it through, I decided maybe I wouldn't push my luck. And I did have more interest. I loved polymer chemistry, but I really had a strong interest in the life sciences. And I saw many of my peers headed off to medical school and dental school. And the dental option to me for what I really wanted in my life seemed like the right option. And I applied to one dental school and got in at the Medical College of Virginia at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia, the only dental school in Virginia. But I liked the state, I liked that school, I liked what it had to offer, and I really wasn't interested in applying there. When you talk to pre-professional students, a lot of them will apply to 5 and 10 different schools to increase their chances of getting in. But a fabulous, fabulous place to go. And do you know what I found out when I was headed from undergraduate into graduate school? They looked at my history of all the research that I had done and my involvement in industry and said, that we're interested in. We know you've got a commitment and we know you have a great understanding that's global. Okay, do you know what it means? For those of you that are younger students, do you know what it means when somebody says, you know, you're a really great thinker in terms of the global nature of your thought process? It means you can see the big picture. Yeah, so you don't just think about one teeny tiny little thing that's happening in science, you think about what it means, what that little teeny tiny thing means to the rest of what's going on. So I had the opportunity to enter dental school there. I worked as a dental assistant during the year that I was waiting to get into dental school, and I learned how I would never, ever, 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 ever treat a dental assistant. So it may have been a tough work experience, but it was a great work experience because it made me understand what dental assistants really have to be able to do and what they go through in their day-to-day functions and how important it is for the dental professional to treat them as the peer that they deserve to be treated as. Again, very important messages for all of you. During that time, I also, again, got right back into pre-doctoral research in the periodontal research area, and as Holly pointed out, had lots of different student leadership opportunities. And I developed, after my second year, a very strong interest in periodontal research and clinical periodontics, and with aspirations to become someday a periodontal department chair or the dean of a dental school. So my aspirations were changing from where they had been when I was in high school. Very definitely were changing. Go ahead. So I had my mentor at Virginia was himself a graduate of the Harvard Medical School's Harvard School of Dental Medicine periodontics program, and I applied and was accepted into their combined Doctorate of Medical Sciences and Clinical Surgical Specialty Training in Periodontics as their Astropharmaceutical Research Fellow, and completed my research program and clinical training program in 5 years. That, again, was the required pathway for heading off into that department chairman's position or the dean of the dental school position. But as fate would have it, personal life kind of enters into this picture too. So I met the person that I am now married to while I was in dental school, and he was in the program at Harvard. So we were both periodontists. So I'm looking at my undergraduate or graduate fellows or MTSU folks who may be in those similar situations yourself, where two of you are in the identical profession. It becomes a little challenge to figure out, okay, so how do we do this? And I knew by then that I loved science enough that if I wanted to be able to marry the two together. I wasn't interested in being in clinical practice full-time and wasn't interested in being just in the academic environment and not have the clinical practice component that I wanted to have. So I love surgery too much to be away from that and patient care. And my other choice was to just go out into industry, but I didn't want to give up the patient care. So where did I go from there? I went into private practice in periodontics for a general dental practice. So who knows what a general dentist is? Who is that person? Do you know? Do you guys go to a general dentist? Yeah? All right, so the general dentist is the person, the guy or gal that's delivering your general dental care, all the fillings and crowns and all of those kinds of things. They may do a little bit of the specialty stuff too. But if you're really in some trouble, generally they'll refer you on to see the specialist. So I was going into a practice with 5 other general dentists where I provided all the clinical perio for their patients. And then at the same time had the opportunity to consult for a worldwide pharmaceutical company in the area of craniomaxillofacial research and product development. So I was, again, responsible for helping them design all their studies, get their studies approved, any additional FDA kinds of approvals, and very, very importantly, writing some more. So clinicians love, surgeons love to do studies, but they hate to publish them. So that doesn't do anybody any good if you don't get the information out there. So writing, that comes back to that English thing that I did all right in high school. And then mom, that's my ultimate balancing act. So I am the mom of 3 daughters, yay. Thank you. 17, 15, and 10. 2 who have an interest in the sciences, 1 who has an interest in marrying communications with science. So she loves being sort of out there in front, but also loves science, or has a newfound love for science. I think she's finally starting to get that science is sort of in more things than what she thought originally. But yes, so I have 3 daughters, so that's the other thing that I do, and hopefully it's at the top of my list. And it certainly is there, and somehow we managed to kind of balance all that. So what a wonderful, wonderful journey I've been able to have so far. Continue. So where did we go after? So I got married and had 2 of my daughters while I was in my residency program, and then had my 3rd daughter after we had moved to New York. My husband started a biopharmaceutical company. That was developed out of his research, by the way, when he was in his thesis research at Harvard, made a discovery, and then had the opportunity to turn that discovery into products out in the marketplace. You guys, that's where the exciting journey really begins, okay? There's nothing more exciting than seeing something that you understand scientifically get turned into a product out in the marketplace where it's making differences in people's lives every single day. That's what really certainly excites me. We brought that to Tennessee very deliberately. In fact, turned down $10 million of funding to start a company in New York because we said, we're bringing the company here, so we'll come to Tennessee with no money and no jobs and 3 children. And my parents had to wonder if we'd lost our minds. But we're here, and what has happened since then? Tennessee has been a wonderful, wonderful home for us. So I, again, consultant and director of applied research at the company, and was responsible for helping design. So anybody familiar with what you have to do? If you have a discovery and you want to get it approved out in the marketplace, can you just go to the FDA and say, hey, I have a really great idea? What do you have to do? You have to do some testing, yeah? You have to do some early testing before you can ever get toward a human being, yes? So that's the early work, right? And then by the time we got to Tennessee, there was some additional early work to do, but then there was the work of getting prepared to go into humans. So it's writing those clinical trial protocols for 11 different sites, getting 180 patients treated, going through that whole process, and then taking it before the FDA, and finally being able to get product approval. That was very, very exciting, and ultimately led to about, when the sale of the dental business happened, it was about $100 million that the company now was able to dedicate to just orthopedic product development and commercialization. So what does that mean? So where was the company? I'm not in the company anymore, but where was the company when I left after they sold the dental business? What do you do with a periodontist with scientific training that's been in this area forever? I jumped over naturally to sports medicine. So, because again, you see, again, the message there is periodontist, yes. What's in the periodontium? Bone and periodontal ligament and cementum, so mineralized tissues. They're all musculoskeletal kinds of tissues. So you could take a periodontist with strong research training and move them over to sports medicine. Crazy, ridiculous, fun space. There's nothing like a rotator cuff to wake you up. Achilles tendon tears that look like mop heads when they rip apart, and surgeons are trying to figure out, how do we put those back together? The exciting news is, this is what blows my mind. So I've been out of school longer than you care to know about, and certainly longer than I care to tell you about. But the advances just within the musculoskeletal space still have a long way to go. So you guys now have opportunities in that space and in many other spaces where there are still so many answers to be found to challenges that face the medical community. And that goes into the whole physics and instrumentation and sophisticated monitoring systems and all of this. So all of the STEM professions, science, technology, engineering, and math, you guys have wide open doors that are going to take you potentially to places that I can't even conceive of. So my journey, I think, has been one of the most exciting journeys. When the company, we came here, no jobs in Tennessee in 2000. No jobs and no money. The company is now a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ with about a $290 million cap. That means it's worth a lot of money. So that in just this period of time has happened. So can you imagine if you all keep eyes wide open, minds wide open, never say that you can't do something. You may have to figure out how to do it for you in the way that works for you, but you guys are at the at just beginning a very exciting journey, one that I hope we can all look back or look forward to hearing in years to come. So I want to make sure that we leave time for questions and answers, but I know waking you guys up with a long talk about me, really it's not about me, it is about you. This whole day and everything now going forward is all about you and your opportunities. Make sure you don't shortchange yourself, make sure you keep your eyes open for those opportunities, and make sure you reach out for people to kind of mentor and bring you along, because that's really how you're going to make it through to the place where you really ultimately want to end up. So thank you so much. I appreciate your attention.
Okay, we have time for one, if it's really quick, maybe 2 questions. So does anybody have a really good question?
Okay, I'll be honest, teeth really gross me out. So I was wondering, because I'm more interested on the physics side of science, was there an experience that you had where, with science and with surgeries or whatever, where you were like, this isn't gross, this is really cool? Did you ever have that experience?
Yeah, you mean when did I actually kind of change from the high school, ooh, are you kidding me, put your hands in someone's mouth kind of thing, especially with all that disease? You know, I think it's when I honestly made my way through zoology and dissection, and when you begin to uncover what is really a mystery to you until you have the chance to really look into a living creature that's now there for you to investigate, but to see how those systems relate to one another, you'll never look. In fact, gross anatomy really was for me, and that's human gross anatomy, having the opportunity to uncover and begin to understand how the nervous system and vascular system integrate, and how the musculoskeletal system is made up, and what that really looks like both at the gross level and then under the microscope. Those are the kinds of things that take it from being really gross to being just amazing, amazing.
Everybody give Dr. Weisner-Lynch one last hand.
One-word answer. Well, I am double majoring in psychology and Spanish, and I'm minoring in neuroscience. So all of that equals science, you know, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. I guess I'm fit in the science field. But right now I'm doing research with Dr. Cyril Monnier on campus here. He's a French professor on campus, and we're doing research with an EEG machine. Has anyone ever heard of an EEG? EEG readouts? So yeah, and you'll actually see that if you're in the Singing Neurons workshop. You'll see that. We have an EEG cap where you put it on and you can read neurons and see how they're firing. But anyway, I'm working on that right now. And I also am trying to incorporate Spanish into that. I've been working at a Spanish restaurant since before the summer, and if anyone wants to learn a different language, immerse yourself. It's the best way to do it. And that's what I've been doing all summer, and last summer I actually went to Spain. That's something else that you guys really need to do whenever you go to college. It's the best opportunity you'll get to travel, and you need to do that. But anyway, here. This is Casey.
Hello, guys. I am the Secretary of WISE this year. Last year I was the president, and the year before that I was also the secretary. I've been involved in WISE for a long time, so it's kind of hard to keep track of everything. I'm also the GRITS assistant director, and like I said previously, GRITS is Girls Raised in Tennessee Science, and we work really hard to make sure that young girls such as yourselves have all the information that you need to get into the colleges that you really want to attend, how to do that, how to take the standardized tests that you need to take, as well as the courses that you should be taking now in high school in order to get into the colleges that you would like to go to pursue your STEM educations. And if you have any questions like that, feel free to email me, and I can get you the resources that we have. I am currently a biology major and a chemistry minor. My concentration in biology is animal science. I want to work with animals when I graduate. My plans when I graduate in May is to get a job at a zoo as a zookeeper. I have had 2 summer internships with the Nashville Zoo working with the zookeepers, and I've loved it. And another thing I would like to add to what Elisa said, if you have the opportunity to study abroad, do it. If you have the opportunity to do internships, do it. I actually was very confused last year as to what I wanted to do, and I had a summer internship at the zoo this summer with the carnivore keepers, working with the big cats and the carnivores, and I loved it. And that made my decision for me. And I was very lost before that internship, and I have many friends who are that way, that didn't really know what they wanted to do until they had an internship, because you get to actually do the job. You get to experience what it is and know that you like it for yourselves. So study abroad, do internships. Those are two very important things to do when you get into college.
My name is Amanda, and I am a sophomore. I'm a biology major, and I'm pre-dental. I'm just going here 4 years, planning on going to dental school, maybe being a general dentist. I am on the executive council for WISE, and I'm also in a pre-dental club. And I guess, like she said, just try to, like she said, immerse yourself. Just do everything you can. Like in high school, really do take a lot of science classes. Like I went to a very small high school, and unfortunately we didn't have like a very good science program, so I wasn't really prepared when I got to college. So if you don't, I mean, it's okay. You'll still do fine in college. You'll just have to do a little catching up. But if you do have the opportunities to work somewhere where you can get in some kind of science or math field just for the summer or during the school, just a few hours, it'd be great.
My name is Alexis Shively, and I graduated here in last May. And I was in WISE and in Prescripts, and there's several organizations that are related to science or professions that you'd be interested in here at MTSU. So I'd encourage you to look for those opportunities in college and while you're in school, in middle school and high school. And when I came here, I started with a major in chemistry because I was interested in being pre-medicine, and I ended up with a major in biology and chemistry when I graduated. So get a lot of sciences while you can, and find that balance whenever you, because I've told you I'm doing all these science classes and I'm doing these organizations, but my take home for that would be to find your balance whenever you're doing all these different things, so you can do your best in everything that you put yourself into. And along with getting involved with internships and things like that, those are very important too. I did an internship after my junior year in Ohio in a cell and developmental biology lab, and I learned a lot of cool dissecting skills and learned a lot about embryos and embryology, and that's kind of where we all come together in the scheme of being animals, and then we all diverge off and become humans or turtles or chickens, or so it's just really cool to have that perspective. And then going into my senior year, I kept those things in mind, and about June I started working in another cell and developmental biology lab in Nashville. And I get to work with graduate students and kind of learn what the graduate student life is like. So hopefully that'll prepare me to make decisions in the future as to whether I'd rather take that route. But right now, I really, if I have a passion for medicine and I'm trying to get into medical schools, and I've applied and I'm waiting, so I'm in the waiting period. And so if you want any information about that, if you have any questions, you can ask me. And that's all I have.
Hello, my name is Raquel Ingram. I'm a sophomore here at MTSU. I'm a member of WISE. I joined WISE because I wanted to be a part of a group with women in science, so we all have that same thing in common. I major in chemistry, and I have a concentration in pre-pharmacy, and I minor in business administration. I love chemistry. I love it. When I was in high school, that's when I first got exposed to chemistry. Like when I was in high school, you could choose between chemistry or the easy science, that's what we call it, the easy science. Everyone chose the easy science. But I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that, I'm gonna do chemistry. And when I got in there, we did all kind of experiments, and I just loved that kind of stuff. And my teacher, she was a chemist, like diehard chemist, like, and she loved girls, like helping girls to be more involved in science. And so because of her, I became a chemist, as I am now at MTSU. And so I encourage you, like while you're in high school, don't take the easy way out like people did in my school. Take chemistry and physics and all of that in high school, and you'll be prepared for college.
Hi, my name is Brandy Wall. I am majoring in chemistry and minoring in anthropology. I am not pre-med or pre-pharmacy or anything. I'm just a chemistry major. I plan on doing an internship in the lab next semester. And I also got into chemistry from my high school teacher. It was also the hard science class to take, but I challenged myself. And I think I continue to do that because the other day I wrote on Facebook, why did I pick such a hard major? And my mom wrote, because you challenge yourself. If you would have picked anything else, it would have been easy, and you don't like easy, which is true. So I encourage you to challenge yourself and pick that thing that drives you to a better education.
Questions? Okay, so does anyone have any questions as of right now? No? All right. Well, I guess we can talk about what initially got us into what we're interested in. Would you guys want to answer that? Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'll do that. I mean, I'm just trying to, throw out some info for you guys. But I guess what first got me interested, well, I don't know what got me interested in science. I guess I was just born that way, got interested in science. But I always liked animals. Always liked animals. My room was a jungle. I wanted like 15 horses and cows and dogs and cats and snakes and whatever else you could throw out there. Hamsters, whatever. And so I always liked science. I was in a science club in high school, middle school, dissecting owl pellets. Has anyone ever done that? Isn't it fun? And they have like a whole little mouse in there, and you put his little skeleton together and see what he used to look like. I don't know. I think that's so much fun. But I guess I like puzzles too. Maybe that's where that comes in at. But anyway, the point is, you have all these different interests that you like. I like helping people. I like understanding how things work. I like biology, science. I like puzzles. So, so that helps me come out with the idea that now I really want to, like I said, I'm in psychology, Spanish, and neuroscience. So I'm not necessarily in biology, but I still am interested in that. And I would still like to work in a clinic someday helping people. And with the neuroscience part, that's me understanding how things work and a part of the biology. Because there's so much about the brain that we still don't know. I think like 90% of what we know about our brain has happened in the last 10 years, if that tells you anything. So there's still so much that we don't know about the brain. And I think that that's a great way to help people with Alzheimer's, maybe find a cure for it or slow it down or preventative before you even get it. That's one example where a lot of research is going on right now. So all those things put together, me wanting to help people, solving problems, if you like Law and Order, or so they solve problems, that's something good, investigative, where you like to figure stuff out. And so I guess that's kind of where I've reached where I am. I don't know where the Spanish comes in with that. I guess I just like learning and understanding different things and being able to help different people. Because, in the United States, we think of everyone speaking English. But there are lots here, lots here, who have problems because they don't understand English. And, they can, try to get as much as they can, but some people need help. In the medical field, they can go to an emergency room with something and not know how to say, he's got a fever, he's, coughing, all the symptoms, and try to get help. So I would like to be able to help those people too. Not just the English speaking, but everyone that I can. I can only do one language at a time. So I'm at 2, maybe 3 later, but I'm at 2. Great.
Myself, like Elise, I've always felt that I've always been interested in science of some type. I remember in middle school really liking math a lot. I took advanced math, and I had this teacher in middle school all 4 years, Mr. Richards, and
I just thought that was the coolest class in the world because we were learning so much. It was advanced math, and we were learning so much more math than the students who were in regular math. And it came easy to all of us, so it worked out really well. But when I got into high school, I started taking advanced classes that were in other subjects, such as advanced biology, advanced chemistry, and things like that. And I really liked it. Like Raquel, when I was in high school, we had the choice of taking biology or physics or chemistry. Our physics teacher was a little crazy, so I chose not to do that. But I chose to take chemistry, and I was one of 9 students in that class, one of 2 females in that chemistry class. So there wasn't a lot of people taking that really hard chemistry course. And I took it for 2 years, and I loved it. And I feel like those 2 classes have really given me a good background for the chemistry that I am studying now. The things that I learned in that class has helped me remember things in the chemistry courses that I've taken in college and that I'm still taking. Every time I look at the periodic table, I think of my high school chemistry class because we had to memorize it. And back then, you think, oh, this is the stupidest thing ever. Why am I going to have to memorize this? I hate it. But now when I can look at a chemical element and say, oh, that's iodine, or that's tungsten, or this is element number 5, I can do that because of my high school courses. I also took biology in high school, and that was really fun. In my biology class, we got to dissect a lot of animals, and I really, really liked that. So when I came to college, I was a little confused as to what I wanted to do. And I started here as a pre-med major. And I went to a couple of hospitals and, walked around with the doctors and realized that, this is really, I'm not so excited about this. This is really not what I want to do. So then I changed my major to pre-med, or pre-vet. And I worked with a couple of veterinarians around here in Murfreesboro and thought, yeah, this is pretty cool. I could do this, I guess. This would be really neat. But then I had the internship at the Nashville Zoo. And my first year there, I worked with the critter encounter, which is the hoof stock. They have camels and goats and alpaca, and they had ducks there too, which aren't hoof stock. And that's where I worked, and I really liked it. I'm like, this zookeeping job is really cool. I like being able to take care of exotic animals, clean up after them, feed them, play with them. And I just thought that was really cool. So then that was 2 summers ago, and I got back here at MTSU and I'm taking classes, and I'm like, I'm not as excited as I was this summer. I don't really know what I want to do. I'm still confused as to what I'm going to do. I have 2 more years left here, and I have no idea. And then this past summer was when I had the internship with the carnivore keepers, and something just clicked. I've always loved cats. I've always loved exotic cats. And being able to be that close to those kinds of cats, to clean up after them, to feed them, and in some cases interact with them. Not a lot of them. Like the tigers, you can't really interact with the tigers unless you're training them, which I thought was really cool as well. And then this semester here at MTSU has been a completely different experience for me. Now that I know what I want to do, I know what my goals are, it's so much easier to go to class every day and do really well. And that's why I say that internships are very good for you to have. If you ever have even if it's something you think you're slightly interested in, go for it. The worst that can happen is that you realize you're not that interested in it and you don't want to devote the rest of your life to it. The best thing that could happen is that you realize that's really what you want to do. And I know sitting there in those seats right now, you may know what you really want to do, you may not know at all. And even if you do know what you want to do, when you get into college, that changes. I wanted to be a doctor ever since I was a little girl. Yeah. I wanted to be a doctor, and she wanted to be a zoologist. And now I'm a zoologist, and she's going to be a doctor. But that's what I always wanted to do. And then when I got here at MTSU and started taking the courses, I realized that's not what I want to do. And I found something else that excited me way more. So if you don't know what you want to do, it's okay. That's why you take general education classes, because you may be really interested in English, but then you take a general chemistry class and realize that may have been the first time you've ever taken a chemistry class, and you realize you really like chemistry. So it's okay if you don't know what you want to do, because you will find out. And it's experiences such as studying abroad, internships, volunteering to do research with your professors, any type of research, not just science research. You could, do anthropology research, where you're studying humans, pretty much, and their culture. Things like that will help you know what you really want to do.
Ever since I was little, I mean, I loved animals so much, and I used to always think I wanted to be a veterinarian just because I could help animals and be around animals, and then I got horses, and I thought that's what I really wanted to do also, maybe just be like a horse vet, but I never shadowed a veterinarian, but having horses, you're at the vet all the time, and I realized it wasn't really what I wanted to do, and in high school, like I said, we didn't really have very strong sciences. We had really strong English, and I ended up being really good in English, but it's just, I knew that's not what I wanted to do. And I decided I wanted to be pre-dental before I came to school, before I came to college, and I guess I kind of just picked it out of the air, almost. I mean, I always enjoyed going to the dentist, and like I liked my dentists. I guess that they had a positive influence on me. And but then last year, since my first science classes, since I hadn't had a good science background, I mean, they were very difficult at first. I liked biology in high school and didn't realize how much more difficult it would be in college, and took honors. And my first test, I failed miserably. And my first lab test, I failed, and it really discouraged me. I called my mom. I was really upset, and I didn't know like why I chose that major, and thought maybe science just wasn't for me. And then kind of freaked out because then I had no idea what else I needed to do. But I got a tutor, and I made friends in my class, and the next test I made an A. And it is, college classes are a lot more difficult, especially science, but you can do it, and it just takes the right mindset, and it is a lot more studying, but some of them aren't all that difficult. It's just you need to prioritize your time and study. You can't, like in high school, our test, I could study a day before the test. Now I gotta start studying 2 weeks before the test. And I still wasn't positive I wanted to be a dentist, just because I didn't really know anything about it still. And then I shadowed this summer, and I loved it. And I really realized that's what I wanted to do. And just like the science courses, you may not enjoy chemistry as much as you enjoy other things, but you still want to be a veterinarian or an orthodontist or an optometrist or pre-pharm or anything. But you just gotta like the keynote speaker said today, is you gotta look at the big picture and look at what you're working towards, because in the end, it's all gonna be worth it.
Well, like I said, I was interested in being a doctor since I was probably in middle school. So when I got to high school, I knew I was going to have to hit biology, be really good grade-wise in high school. But it wasn't that hard to try and make good grades when I took biology, because I was so interested in it. And I took AP biology, and there were some kids in my class that were chosen by the teacher to be in a shadowing program or something like that, and I just remember getting really jealous because I wanted to shadow doctors too. So, but my senior year of high school, I was in an exploring club at Summit Medical Center, and I think they actually have I checked out the website actually just a few years ago, or I was in it in my senior year, but I didn't actually know there was a website until this past year. So if you get a chance to check that out, that might be interesting to see if there's an exploring club in your area, and you can get involved with professionals that you're interested in shadowing, and that would be really neat, I think. Is there any pre-medicine or people interested in medicine here, or dental? Is there any dental? Is there any aerospace? We have a great aerospace program here. Is anybody interested in flying or being a part of that? My dad was a pilot, and I always thought that was really cool, but he didn't really encourage me to be a pilot, because of the life of a pilot's really kind of scattered as far. You go to work, and you can be at work for the whole week and then come home for the weekend, and that's how it was with our family. He would go away for 5 days and then come back during the weekend, and so he didn't really encourage that kind of lifestyle, as far, because if you want a family and you want to spend more time with your family. But I always thought that would be a neat thing to do, would be to fly anyways, and that's my roommates. My roommates were aerospace majors, so I'd really encourage y'all to explore that too. But as far as pre-medicine goes, when I got college, I continued to learn more about medicine. And if you've ever paid attention to the last two initials of a doctor's, you know, there's Dr. So-and-so, and then there's either an MD, and then I didn't know this, but there's also a DO, and that's osteopathic medicine. And it's just a really, to me it was, I really like the MD outlook, and then there's this new, I guess osteopathic is a newer kind of outlook on medicine where you look at the holistic or a whole body kind of way of treating a patient, and it has a lot to do with the musculoskeletal system, and kind of incorporates ideas that a chiropractor might talk to you about as far as taking care of yourself, and it has a lot to do with preventative medicine. So if you're interested in medicine, I'd encourage you to explore the differences between MD and DO and see which ones you like, or if you even care for the difference, or you know, just kind of explore those avenues. And I know you're in high school and it's a long ways away, but even visiting those websites of the schools that you think you want to go to would be really helpful as well, as far as knowing how to prepare while you're in college and shadowing and things like that. So are y'all shadowing right now? Are you shadowing doctors right now?
And something that I wanted to mention, Alexis had reminded me, we've been talking a lot about job shadowing and interning and studying abroad. Studying abroad may not be an option for you now, but I know that many doctors, and I know many veterinarians, and I'm sure scientists who work in the lab have programs now for high school students to come and shadow them. So if you know that you're interested in a particular thing, such as being a doctor, I would encourage you to find doctors in your area that will allow you to job shadow them. Just follow them around and talk with them and see what their life is. That way you might have a good grasp of what you really want to do before you even get into college, because those options are available now for you, and that would be a good thing to do.
I did that at a veterinary center one Saturday, and it was